This was the moment I realized loyalty means nothing. I stood in the center of the empty office, the one I'd built from scratch with nothing but caffeine, willpower, and too many 3 a.m. code sprints. Now it was cold, lifeless, a skeleton with glass walls. In my hand, I held a $100 bill. Crisp, neat, folded, not as payment, as insult. That was the last thing they gave me before they cut me out. My name is Warren Lee, 32 years old, a son of immigrant parents. I laughed quietly, looking at the $100 bill, the way you do when rage has no room left to breathe. The kind of laugh you don't let reach your eyes. It echoed off the glass like a ghost. That $100, it wasn't severance. It was a souvenir, a receipt for all the loyalty I'd paid forward. Let me take you back to how it started. I met Bryce Whitmore at a data science summit 5 years ago. He had the money. I had the mind. He wore expensive suits and threw around venture buzzwords like disruption and ecosystem. I had a secondhand laptop with keys that stuck and a binder full of product designs. We were opposites, but we aligned where it mattered. At least I thought we did. We started Halitech in a co-working space with stained floors and flickering lights. I coded. I recruited. I built the back end from scratch and negotiated our first contracts while Bryce smoothed the PR circuits. We used to joke that he was the face and I was the spine. Neither could work without the other. Until the money came in. It began subtly. My name, once equal on pitch decks and press releases, started getting buried. At first, I chalked it up to oversight. I wasn't a glory guy anyway. But then Bryce began steering meetings away from me. He'd take calls without looping me in. Clients I brought in were reassigned. My logins to key documents mysteriously stopped working. One afternoon, I walked into the boardroom late after debugging a major crash. Everyone was seated. Bryce, our angel investors, a few new faces from the firm. He didn't even introduce me. I sat there as he clicked through my roadmap, my product vision, pitching it like it was his. He smiled that smug, faux humble smile like he was doing all of us a favor. Any feedback on the Q2 rollout? Warren, he asked, pretending to loop me in. My jaw tensed. No, you've covered it thoroughly. My hands were beneath the table, clenched so hard, the skin on my knuckles paled. They didn't notice, or they didn't care. It was the email that did it. The final slap. Bryce CC'd me. CC'd, not even addressed directly, on a message announcing his decision to streamline the leadership structure. Effective immediately, I'd be reassigned to product advisory in a part-time capacity. No more board meetings. No more decision rights. But here's the kicker. Attached to the email was a scan check image. $100. A symbolic token of gratitude for your foundational contributions. I didn't reply. I walked back into the office the next morning, and I met Bryce, who handed me a folded $100 bill with a gleeful smile as he walked past me by the elevator. I was startled to find that my access badge to certain parts of the building had been disabled. That was when it dawned on me that Bryce had truly kicked me out. I stood in my office alone, staring at the glass, the shadows of a team I helped build now moving behind walls I no longer had the right to pass through. That night, I sat in my car for 3 hours. No music, no calls, just my thoughts. I watched the rain smear the city lights across my windshield like an oil painting melting in slow motion. And I made 3 calls. None of them were to apologize. The first was to Elena, a UX genius with more heart than the entire boardroom combined. She'd been quietly pushed out 3 months ago after calling out Bryce's manipulative roadmap decisions. I asked her one question. You still want to change the game? She didn't hesitate. The second call was to Jason, a back-end wizard who could break down an AI architecture like it was a Lego set. Bryce thought he was too weird to put in front of investors. I always thought he was too brilliant to waste. Jason picked up and said, I've been waiting for this. The third call was to Priya. Priya was a strategist, ex-McKinsey, emotionally allergic to fluff. Bryce once told her she was too blunt for our brand. She told him his brand was mediocrity in a suit. When I called, she just laughed. About time. That was the night Halitech began to die. and something else began to live. Not a revenge plot, not a comeback plan, something simpler, something purer, a rebuild, not of the product, of the purpose. But I wasn't angry, not visibly. Anger burns out fast. I was something colder, sharper, the kind of cold that cuts clean. They thought I would go quietly. They forgot something about storms. The loudest ones aren't the most dangerous. The silent ones are. We weren't just building something new. We were building something they couldn't ignore. There's a particular silence that comes right before you begin again. Not the kind that mourns an ending, but the one that sharpens into focus like breath held before a leap. We started in Jason's garage. It smelled like solder, old coffee, and ambition. The Wi-Fi was awful. The ceiling leaked during heavy rain, and the only heating we had came from the overworked tower PC humming in the corner. But it was ours. There were just 4 of us. Me, Elena, Jason, and Priya. No interns, no assistants, no board, no distractions. Only one goal: to build something better. To build an AI-powered platform that helped companies detect early signs of employee burnout and team dysfunction, turning real-time workplace data into actionable insights to improve culture, performance, and retention. Let us know where you're watching us from. And if you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. You have nothing to lose, and it will mean the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. You sure about this? Elena asked me on day 1, tying her hair into a messy bun as she rolled out her sketch pad. I've never been more sure about anything, I said. I wasn't lying. For once, I was free to build without anyone standing on my shoulders for the photo op. We didn't start with a mission statement or a name. We started with a problem. The problem HalleyTech never cared enough to fix. People didn't need bloated tech packed with jargon and hidden fees. They needed clarity, simplicity, tools that solved real problems without making them feel like they were being sold to. Problems of employee burnout and team dysfunction, which, if not detected early and addressed, hits organizations' bottom line, directly and negatively. Priya helped us cut through the noise. She outlined what we'd do and what we wouldn't. No corporate speak, no polished lies, she said, and no buzzwords. Jason grinned. So no synergizing scalable infrastructure. Only if you want me to throw this mug at you, she replied. Elena sketched a mock-up that same night. Clean lines, elegant colors, intuitive interface. I coded beside her, fueled by a kind of energy I hadn't felt in years. The kind that doesn't come from caffeine or adrenaline, but from purpose. It was ugly at first. Slow, clunky, but it worked. We called it Ember, because fires start small. While we worked, HalleyTech rolled on without me. Or tried to. I watched from the shadows. Not out of spite, but because I needed to understand what they were doing wrong in real time. Turns out, it didn't take long to see the cracks forming. Bryce had taken my ideas and slapped on buzzwords until they collapsed under their own weight. The Q3 launch? Delayed. The client dashboard I built? Overwritten by a third-party plugin that crashed under scale. Users complained. Investors started asking questions. One night, Elena showed me a LinkedIn post. It was a client I'd personally onboard with HalleyTech. They'd left a comment under the company's new launch video. Who designed this garbage? Bring back the old version. I read it twice. I didn't smile, but I didn't look away either. Meanwhile, Ember started picking up speed. Jason posted a demo on a forum where devs shared indie tools. It went viral. 1.2 million views in a week. People didn't just like it. They loved it. They got it. The way it worked. The way it talked to them like humans, not spreadsheets. Suddenly, emails started coming in. Then DMs. Then job applications. We said no to most. Not because we were arrogant, but because we were still fragile. We weren't a company yet. We were an idea with a heartbeat. A month in, Priya brought news. Remember Finch and Weller? She said, setting her tablet on the garage table. I did. They were one of HalleyTech's oldest enterprise clients. Bryce never treated them seriously. They weren't flashy, but I'd always admired their loyalty. They want a meeting, she said. With us. I raised an eyebrow. How'd they hear about us? She smirked. Apparently someone on their dev team saw our demo on Reddit, passed it around. CEO got wind of it. They said they missed the days when tech was designed by people who gave a damn. Their words. We didn't celebrate. We got back to work. At night, I found myself thinking less about Bryce and more about us. Ember wasn't just our second chance. It was our declaration. We weren't here to take HaliTech down. We were here to make it irrelevant. I'll never forget the moment our first payment notification came through. Jason was brushing crumbs off his keyboard. Elena was asleep on the beanbag chair. Priya was editing a presentation deck. My laptop pinged. $14,995 deposited. Client, Finchenweller. License term, 1 year. I read the line 3 times. Then I exhaled. Elena stirred awake and looked at me groggily. What happened? I turned the screen toward her. She gasped. No way. Priya put her coffee down slowly. You're kidding. Jason froze mid-keystroke, then stood up and yelled, We're a company, baby. We laughed. Loud, long, and real. Not the forced laughs of team-building retreats or polished launch parties. The kind that hurt your ribs. The kind you remember. Later that night, I sat alone under the garage's bare light bulb. Everyone had gone home. It was just me, the quiet hum of servers, and a wall covered in post-it notes. I reached into my wallet and pulled out the $100 bill. Still folded, still crisp. I stared at it, then pinned it to the corkboard above my desk. A reminder, not of the betrayal, but of the moment I stopped playing by their rules. We weren't just building something new. We were building something they couldn't ignore. They thought I was hiding, but I was waiting. It started with a whisper, a screenshot, casually dropped in an anonymous forum thread, then another, and another. Emails, Slack messages, project timelines with big red circles around missed deadlines. Someone at HaliTech was bleeding secrets. I wasn't the one doing the leaking, but I wasn't surprised either. All it took was time. Time, and Bryce's bloated ego pressing down on the wrong necks. When people are silenced long enough, they don't scream, they leak. And this leak? It wasn't a drip. It was a flood. Elena found it first. She walked into the garage with her phone held out like it was radioactive. You've got to see this. The thread was buried on a mid-tier tech blog. User InsiderX had uploaded internal memos from HaliTech's product team. One of them detailed their Q4 launch, an abysmal failure that had lost them 2 major clients. There were comments in the margins. Confused engineers. A product manager asking why the back-end architecture had been replaced with an unstable framework. No answers, just frustration. One reply read, This is what happens when Bryce decides vision means rewriting Warren's code without understanding it. I read that line 5 times. I didn't smile. I just tilted my head and whispered. Within 24 hours, Tech Insider picked it up. Then Product Pulse. Then Reddit exploded with speculation. Devs began dissecting the memos like archaeologists trying to make sense of a lost civilization. And in every thread, every tweet, every whisper, one name kept popping up. Mine. They remembered. They remembered what I built, what I wrote, what worked before it didn't. Suddenly, it wasn't just Ember getting attention. It was me. The ghost they shoved out of the boardroom was now the shadow behind the storm. And Bryce, in typical fashion, made it worse. He issued a corporate statement. 4 paragraphs of corporate nonsense, strategic visioning, minor internal setbacks, and my favorite. We thank the development team for their continued excellence and adaptability. Adaptability. That word always made my skin crawl. The dev forums tore apart. Someone reposted the line with a caption. Adaptability equals rewriting stable code to chase trends your CEO doesn't understand. Oof. Even I winced. Then came the first move against Ember. We got a letter. Not from Bryce directly, but from HaliTech's legal department. Priya read it aloud at the garage table, calm as ever. Cease and desist regarding proprietary design similarities between Ember and HaliTech Interface Systems 3.0, she read. Failure to comply may result in legal action. Jason looked at me. What the hell is that even based on? I shrugged. Probably the fact that Ember works and they're mad about it. Elena snorted. They're grasping. But I knew what this was. It wasn't about legality. It was fear. Priya responded with a letter of her own. Short, sharp, and legally ironclad. Every Ember feature had been rebuilt from scratch, time-stamped, and documented. Our Git history was cleaner than a surgeon's scalpel. But the letter did something else. It lit a fire under us. If they were willing to play dirty, we had to stay 10 steps cleaner and 10 steps ahead. We doubled down. Jason optimized the back end until Ember was faster than anything HaliTech had ever released. Elena refined the UI to something sleek, personal, joyful. Priya built client relationships like they were bridges meant to last forever. And I waited, because I knew something they didn't. The market doesn't forget. It may look away for a while, but when it turns back and sees something better, simpler, more human, it doesn't look away again. The second leak came 2 weeks later. A disgruntled HaliTech employee sent us a tip from a burner account. Attached were screenshots of Bryce in a Slack thread, demanding the team mirror Ember's simplicity in their next release, without actually using our product. Jason read it and muttered, "That's like asking a chef to recreate a dish he's never tasted using ingredients he can't pronounce." Elena laughed. "He thinks he can fake what we built from scratch." But I didn't laugh, because I knew what this meant. He wasn't just watching Ember. He was obsessed with it. And obsession leads to mistakes. We launched Ember's beta that Friday. No PR campaign. No countdown timer. Just a simple tweet from our company account. "We've been quiet. Now we're ready. Meet Ember." It spread like fire. Devs signed up. Designers praised it. Startups emailed us asking about enterprise pricing. Even former HaliTech clients began poking around. By Monday, we were trending on Product Hunt. By Wednesday, a small but influential tech influencer released a video titled, "This new tool does what HaliTech promised," and actually delivers. In the video, he compared the two platforms side by side. Ember smoked it. Bryce didn't respond publicly, but a source close to HaliTech confirmed he canceled a company-wide town hall and was not accepting meetings. Panic was setting in, and we just kept building. That Friday night, I walked into the garage to find Priya alone at the whiteboard. She'd drawn a simple chart. 2 lines, one rising fast, the other flattening. I stood beside her. She tapped the higher line. "That's us. And if the leaks keep trickling, if the devs keep bailing, that bottom line will sink." I nodded. "They'll do something drastic soon," she said. "Bryce isn't the kind to lose quietly." She was right, but I wasn't afraid. Because while Bryce chased influence, we earned trust. While he reacted, we anticipated. And while he tried to play God, we listened like humans. I left the garage that night and took a walk through the old business district downtown. The buildings loomed like fossils of ambition, shiny on the outside, hollow within. I stopped outside the HaliTech Tower. 10 stories of glass and chrome. I used to enter through those doors every day. Now I just watched. Not as a ghost, but as a storm waiting just offshore. They thought I was hiding, but I was waiting. They offered me a job back. I countered with an acquisition. By the time the headlines broke, I was already on my second cup of coffee. The alert came in as I was sitting in the garage-turned-office, reviewing the onboarding documents for our newest batch of users. Jason burst through the door, laptop open, a wild grin stretching across his face. "You're going to want to see this." He spun the screen toward me. There it was, plastered across the top of Technova. Underdog app Ember surpasses HaliTech in user growth. Industry shaken. I just stared at the headline for a moment. Then another popped up. HaliTech bleeding clients after series of internal misfires. And then another. Bryce went in silent as Ember dominates developer space. 3 hits in one morning. One bullet after another into the empire that once kicked me to the curb like yesterday's trash. I didn't cheer. I just leaned back and said quietly, "We're not done." The ripple effect was almost immediate. HaliTech's stock dipped by 8% that week. Sponsors pulled out of 2 of their big upcoming launches. A partner firm publicly stated they'd be reassessing the relationship after the leaks and poor product performance. But what truly hit home was what happened on the inside. I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in a long time. "Sabrina, one of the senior UX designers from the old team. She was sharp, compassionate, and far too smart to still be under Bryce's thumb. Her message was short. It's chaos here. People are leaving. He's blaming everyone but himself. I should have followed you when I had the chance. You were right. I stared at the screen for a long moment. No vindication, just confirmation. Everything they built was toppling under the weight of its own arrogance. Then came the confrontation. Of course, Bryce didn't call me directly. That would have required a level of humility he'd never developed. Instead, I got a calendar invite from his executive assistant. A courtesy call, it said, just to touch base. I accepted, because I knew it wasn't a courtesy. It was surrender. The Zoom call opened to his familiar smug face, framed by the polished backdrop of his designer office. But this time, there was something different behind his eyes. Panic. He put on the old charm first, leaning back, fake casual tone. Warren, man, I've been watching Ember. Really impressive stuff. I always knew you had it in you. I didn't bother playing along. You had it in front of you. You just didn't recognize it. His smile faltered. Just a hair. He cleared his throat. Look, things have shifted fast. I'll cut to it. We've had some setbacks, but we're still strong. That said, there's room to reunite. I think there's a path here where we bring you back in, make you head of product. Full autonomy. Your team, your roadmap. Jason was standing just off camera, pretending not to listen. Elena sat across the room, her arms folded, watching the exchange like it was pay-per-view. I looked Bryce in the eye. Then I smiled. Tempting offer, I said slowly, but I had something else in mind. He blinked. Yeah. I leaned forward. We acquire Halitech. His face froze, like I'd slapped him with his own LinkedIn profile. You what? I'm offering a soft buyout. Your board is already whispering about it. We take the tech that still works, fold it into Ember. Keep a few of the good people. You walk away with your stock and a decent PR spin. Say you're moving on to new visions. Everyone wins. He stared at me, mouth slightly open. Not anger, disbelief. Because the man who once gave me a $100 bonus and claimed my idea as his own was now being offered a lifeline by the same hands he tried to swat away. He didn't accept it then. Of course not. But 2 weeks later, the board reached out. Officially, Ember would absorb Halitech's remaining IP and tech stack. A few legacy clients would come under our wing. Bryce would step down voluntarily. The news made headlines again. Ember acquires Halitech. The empire falls to the underdog. I didn't hold a press conference. I didn't gloat. But inside, something finally settled. Not revenge, just closure. We moved into a new space shortly after that, still modest, but cleaner, warmer, with real windows. The Ember logo gleamed on the glass door. Sunlight spilled across the floors. The day we moved in, I found something I hadn't seen in a while. That $100 bill. The one Bryce had slipped me the day he stole my idea and patted me on the back like I was an intern lucky to have a chair in his kingdom. I held it for a long moment, not out of bitterness, out of gratitude, because without that insult, I might have stayed too long, might have believed the lies, trusted the wrong people, forgotten what I was capable of. Instead, I folded it in half. Then again, one more time, until it became a tight paper airplane. I turned toward the open window and launched it. It spiraled into the wind, catching sunlight like a silver spark. Elena walked in behind me, watching it disappear. You finally let it go. I nodded. Good, she said. We've got better things to build. This was never about revenge. It was about respect. The stage lights were brighter than I remembered. Not blinding, but enough to remind you that people were watching. That every word, every pause, carried weight. I stood there in front of the TEDx audience, mic clipped to my collar, Ember's logo shining behind me. Not bad for a guy they once shoved into a corner office with no windows and a good luck pat on the back. I took a breath, then spoke. I want to start by telling you about a $100 bill. They laughed when I told them the story. The bonus that wasn't a bonus. The idea stolen. The handshake that masked a knife in the back. I kept it raw, honest. Not for pity, but for recognition. Because I knew half the people in that room had been there too. Underestimated, overlooked, dismissed. I told them about the nights in the garage, the cheap coffee, the duct tape desks, the way we build Ember with grit and spite and love for the craft. And then I told them how Halitech fell. I didn't name Bryce. Didn't need to. The story wasn't about him anymore. It was about what came next. After the acquisition, Ember exploded. The users doubled, then tripled. We hired fast, but carefully. People like Sabrina and dozens more who had been burnt by old systems and false promises. We built something real, something that didn't rely on fake smiles and big egos. We built something that listened. And most of all, we built something that respected the ones doing the work. That was the legacy I wanted. Not revenge, not a spotlight. A platform that proved people wrong just by existing. Backstage after the talk, Jason clapped me on the back. "You nailed it." I shrugged. "We all did. You know, Bryce launched a podcast." Elena said, walking up with a grin. "Lessons from the fall. Total rebrand. He even quoted you in episode 1. "Did he?" I chuckled. "Hope he cited his source this time." We laughed, and it felt good. Not bitter, not smug, just right. Later that evening, I stood alone on the rooftop of our new HQ. Same spot where we had our first post-acquisition team dinner. Same view of the city lights. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the photo. Not the $100 bill. I let that go long ago. This was the photo of my team on day 1. Me, Jason, Elena, Priya. Tired eyes. Coffee stains. Hope. I smiled, then walked back inside. We had more to build. That's my story. Some say I should have let it go. Others say I should have hit back harder. But sometimes, the best comeback isn't a shout. It's a signature at the bottom of a contract. Tell me in the comments, would you have fought for your seat at the table? Or walked away and built your own? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this.